So in this week's Creative Confidence Catch Up, today I'm going to be chatting with Rory. So Rory, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here, Amy. This is really a pleasure to and an honor to connect and have these awareness raising conversations. And so I my name's Rory Lemon. I go by Rory Lemon Aid, AID to help, and it's because I didn't realize that I was dyslexic until I was 33,
Oh, okay.
and it was the school exam results that were kind of telling something, but they weren't picked up on, you know.
Right.
So I received the results and was really frustrated with a system that regarded as a particular type of intelligence. I was good at the creative, practical subjects, and it's around the era of me doing the GCSEs. They introduced 50% coursework,
Oh,
which was a
nice.
really, really interesting progression from it all being like you've got to show your intelligence within a particular time frame and be able to memorize something really quickly in a short space of time and then just regurgitate it on a piece of paper,
Uh-huh.
and that's supposed to be intelligence. Whereas the reflective side of things, the coursework, I could go away, write my ideas down, build upon them, and come back. The English literature exam
Hmm.
was 50% of the mark and 50% coursework, and
Hmm.
the English literature, of course, was 100% coursework.
Yes. Hmm.
So my mock English language exam was one grade higher than a complete U. It was
Right.
I got a
Mm.
G. I got a G. Um, and I know I didn't do any better because of this. The same thing happened. I just felt like I'd done the same, but the coursework took me up 5 grades to I got a D. I got a D in English language and a B in English literature and an A in video production. And luckily I had to have a school where there was a TV studio donated as well, so we got to like do video editing and things like that,
Hmm.
and drama school as well. So I kind of got to explore lots of different creative fields, and then was using my uh, music or guitar to regulate my nervous system. I didn't realize because of the other side of things, which is the unknowingly and still undiagnosed autistic traits and ADHD traits in the background. So I've got a push-pull system between all these different
Yeah,
traits as well. So we can delve into neurodiversity because
that's
and
cool.
discovered and looked into how I've changed my personality and my identities over time because I don't focus on um, things from a sort of short-term perspective. I look at where I want to be and where I want to go, even if
Hmm.
it causes a lot of confusion and upset. Going, what am I doing? I don't even know why I'm trying to do this, and
Yeah,
it expands into um, my neuro creative leadership mission, which
yeah.
is we can talk about as well. So yeah.
To be fair, like that main sort of conversation they've just had, like introduction about yourself, I just feel like that really kind of puts to perspective for me because I kind of felt similar. I had like something where I didn't do great on exam side, whereas like courses and or like coursework was a lot more better for me. So I totally understand where you're coming from that. And I always find that these like it's target hitting, isn't it, all the time in mainstream, I feel. And I don't think sometimes that helps quite I suppose a big group of people to help them reach their potential because it always becomes about the targets rather than what those people have potentially inside themselves.
Yeah, that's a great topic as well. And it's 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 like the way I feel into things is that I have this kind of neurodivergent brain. So I like the positive of that, which is divergent thinking. So
Mm-hmm.
divergent thinking is an actual thing where but it's difficult to switch off if it's being practiced. So it's constantly looking into options.
Yeah.
So therefore, if there's a negative or a problem, like, oh, if you see the target as a problem rather than as a solution, really deep down, then it won't necessarily, it's how you perceive yourself against the target you're going for. So it's not
Mhm.
either, it's never either or, it's never either or. So the target is really important. Otherwise, complacency kicks in, apathy. There's nothing to drive ourselves. So there's it's not about just, hey, just go for it and feel the fear anyway, and
Yeah.
push into stress to hyper achieve your way to goals.
Hmm.
That won't, it's the balance between satisfaction and success, and really defining them emotionally, not technically out in the world compared to what anyone else defines success and satisfaction.
Hmm.
That to me is the key, to come back to going, satisfaction can be success and success can be satisfaction, but what are they really from our heart and our gut intuitions and actually reflective practice to actually map it out? I call it vision mapping. So
Yeah.
you really, really take the time to vision map it on a big scale and then start to do it every day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even, sometimes it does take writing it down to really clear something out that's
I
coming from.
totally get that. Yeah, like having an idea and you think, I've got this idea and that idea, and it goes on and on and on. But then what you'll probably find is amongst all of those sorts of ideas, one will keep like pinging up the most. And then from that, the more you kind of like people, there might be a lot of people out there that don't understand the idea of like manifesting, think it's a bit spiritual. But I do actually feel like the more you look at something and want it to happen, the more you can make it happen, because that's what you just keep looking at. And for me, like in my own experiences, like I'm at the moment looking at this thing called Wonky Pot Initiative, and it's trying to get caregivers on board, whether that be parents, entrepreneurs, in order to kind of share their stories through clay, etc. So that, just by doing that, by focusing on that continuously over a repeated amount of time, you were telling yourself, I can do this. And from there, you can make it happen just by focusing on that one thing. So I totally get where you're coming from.
Oh yeah, awesome. Nice one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask you then, right, in terms of like the confidence thing, what does it mean to you then? And is that setback that you have had in the past has that helped you to build your confidence on the way, do you think?
Really good question.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence is the key
Mm-hmm.
to, I feel, and looking back, we don't ever, it's like motivation
Mm-hmm.
though. Motivation is key.
Yeah.
The thing is, focusing on them when you don't have them
Yeah. Oh,
pushes us away from them because we
yeah.
feel like we don't have them.
Yeah.
So, and it's easy to say, oh, I want to do this and I want to take action going forwards with something.
Yeah.
But then the resist it can't I've personally gone through that thing of hitting resistance, but I to doing it, unless it's really, really, really well defined, like I said before. So coming back
Yeah.
to there's stages to it. So um it's really, how do I put it? What I've learned really is to sit down and not compare and just practice for the sake of practice,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely.
is key,
Mm-hmm.
because it's the confidence comes after we've experienced something and realized we didn't die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's true. Yeah. Totally get that.
So 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 where I am now, there's always things that I won't feel confident with because I
Hmm.
haven't experienced them, or a bigger challenge comes, or a challenge will remind me of the stuff from before. So it's having the principles in place to develop a sense of, I know I will get confidence if I have a go.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really there for me with the social. I had social anxieties. I didn't know I did, and it's all that level of awareness of raising awareness of our conscious awareness of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
which brings about where we're at, where what we've gone through, why we potentially act in a particular way, and where we want to go, and preempting what will get in the way first, so that we can recognize what it is. So I have a little framework called recognize, refresh, rehearse, result, and it's quite a
Right.
simple checking in to the body systems. You can clear stress in the moment, but you can also plan ahead for either stressful events that you feel like you're going to be judged, like a job interview or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or for even planning ahead for when there's unexpected changes, so
Yeah.
that you can mentally rehearse what's going to happen later.
Yeah.
So so it's like recognize what's going on. Obviously, the recognize and refresh. So it's not obvious, but it's that thing of refreshment to clear, but you've got to have enough recognition of what's going on before you can refresh. So people do
Yeah.
mindfulness techniques all the time, and that's great. Is it a rescue remedy, or is it taking you somewhere and helping gain that
Mm.
confidence and how to apply it to the things we want to create?
Love that. I love that. But this really ties into the next question that I was that I'm going asking it is about the idea of community. Now, obviously, for yourself, obviously you've been experiencing, or you have experienced certain things, which then I suppose from your lived experience, you can then help others who might be dealing with similar things. So yeah, for it, how are you building that community then? Is that through your teachings and what you're learning yourself, and then are you just kind of helping to see people through and show them what you did?
Pretty
Mm-hmm.
much, yeah.
That's
And
cool.
also, I think it comes down to, as another little, I've got so many different analogies. I've got like seven different bigger frameworks, and about all of those have got little analogies inside them. But the source of happiness, coming back
Mm-hmm.
to the satisfaction, will
Yeah,
then be able to define success. So
definitely.
satisfaction is the health part, and success is the wealth outside of us part in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
or as a general thing, because you can also look for success in your health goals as well as satisfaction in your wealth goals. But generally, the source of happiness being what's coming into you, what are you doing with it, and what are you putting out into the world, like a triangle system with the
Yeah.
emotions in the center, and
Mm-hmm.
what you actually do with your emotions rather than letting them happen to you and taking responsibility. So,
Mm.
taking responsibility is the doing part. So, say for instance, if there's a teacher at a school that's revising everything and they're doing everything they can to eat well and be healthy, um, yeah, yeah, and they're revising all the stuff to teach back out to the students, but they haven't got a real self practice in how they manage their own stress. So they're
Mm-hmm.
doing what they think is coming in, and doing all the things to consume what they want, but they're not necessarily taking the time to self practice. Then when they're putting it out there, they're going to be exhausted and stressed, and sort of like it's just going to be a treadmill of
Yeah.
I've got to learn this or take this in and put it back out again without actually the space for the
Mm-hmm.
self-care. Vice
Yeah.
versa, another example might be a yoga teacher that's consistently doing their own self-practice
Mm-hmm.
non-stop all the day. So they're sort of rescue remedying themselves and they're teaching back out, but then maybe they're not learning something new or getting feedback about how their classes are going. So when it comes back to community, it's not just putting it out there, it's also what we getting from the community. So it's
Exactly.
are we asking for help? It's especially neurodivergence with trying to manage so much regulation around how we fit into working with our uh all the work, the money, the jobs, the all the things, filling forms out. It could be so simple to get help, official help, by knowing how to fill out a form, and yet it could be the form could look like it could feel like Mount Everest to.
Yeah, definitely. Mm.
So just even writing a few things out and actually getting it in order and going through that may not be possible, feel possible. It is possible, and it's possible to change anything
Mm.
when we focus and work on it. So just to round it back up again, it's that idea of yes, I teach out stuff, but I also I've got a real um set of people that
Love that.
if there's any roadblocks, then I'm immediately asking for help because it
That's so
doesn't have to
cool.
be a particular, it doesn't have to be paid. It can be, it's important to, get expert help, whether it's paid or not, but it has to
Hmm.
be the right fit. So it's looking for that expert help and also having the support from people that are just unconditionally there to listen or reaffirm something without without a sort of sense of application of their own judgment
Yeah,
on
totally
it.
get that.
So that
Uh,
community piece is massive,
That's
and it's
it.
yeah. So it's just that sense of what who am I wanting to connect to? Who wants to listen, and who can help me? That's all.
Yeah. Because it is, it's like that sort of circle, isn't it? And I do feel like just by my own community and people who I've come to know, etc., it's like even though you might be doing what you're doing, like you said, you're practicing out doing what, but there might come a time where like you like the other year, this last year, I got a burnout pretty bad in the August, and like I literally just kind of drifted off sorts off the socials of it, which was needed. But it was very interesting because when I came back and started putting what I wanted back out there, it was the community and the people that had known me for a while going, actually, just be careful what you're doing. Just make sure you're not like going too fast, too soon, etc. So it is interesting how, yeah, you'll be helping a community doing what you're doing, but in return, and for me it wasn't even about that. It was obviously I'm putting myself out, but in turn, because I've been putting so much probably value out there and I'm helping them, they in turn are looking out for me, which is just so nice.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
love it.
That's great. But also so with creativity, one of the other key pillars that I look at a lot. How are you using then creativity to help you share your message? Is it podcasting? Is it books? What are those things?
Good question. Um, what I call neurocreativity, like I mentioned just earlier, but
Mm-hmm.
neurocreative leadership is about taking responsibility for what we're creating in every single moment. So it's
Mm-hmm.
becoming present to what it is. So that is what ends up having people become visionary artists or general artists or creatives is or that how they define themselves as creatives is because they're taking responsibility for something
Yeah.
and creating something. And
Mm-hmm.
so that yeah, so what am I doing? I've put my own little book out. It's called Neurocreative
All
Recollection,
right.
called The Pros and Cons of Intentional Brain Bending Brilliance, Volume One.
Okay.
And it's like it's short words, poems, and little phrases that I've written for that have helped me remind myself of um what's important and mental fitness things and pictures and colors and how to appeal to those that don't want to read like left to right books.
Yeah.
It's reference book and it's just a sort of a pick and mix kind of mo less words, more flavor book.
Love that.
Um, so I put that out into the world as a sort of reference point. It's got my story in there and a few other things, and it just kind of covers that area. But that's just an example of something that I could put my mind to. So it's a case of remembering that the four types of creativity that I like to call it. What all or one of these is happening at any single moment. It's disruptive creativity, which could be responding to a negative pattern, buying into it, either of causing stress or pleasure seeking, which is the source of addictions in some way.
Right.
The
Okay.
source of negative addictions, because again, addictions can be positive if you get addicted to a healthy habit, for instance, and that's the reference point again, is to go, what are you responsible for, and what do you want to get addicted to, rather than it being about, oh, I'm addicted to this and addicted to that.
Yeah.
Well, why is that? Because there's some benefit believed in the background about it for some reason. And so it's getting present to how to rewire that benefit or swap it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's disruptive creativity. Then aimless creativity is where there's sort of just coming back tired and sort of zoning out, I like to call it, because
Yeah.
it's not necessarily doing something that causes disruptive patterns in the body, like toxins or alcohol or something that's overdone too much. But aimless could be just literally not necessarily knowing what to do because
Yeah.
there's been no vision mapping in
Mhm.
place. And so it's like Netflix for too much and staying still, and that potentially moves into disruptive too.
That's
But
interesting, that. I like,
going
yeah.
higher, we've got functional creativity,
Hmm.
which is uh, when we get into patterns of things that we get into a flow state. You know,
Hmm.
a flow state is something we love doing. We might do it for passion or we might be doing it for work. But once we've learned something, we can really challenge ourselves and grow with that skill within the remit of knowing enough about it to actually be in a flow of it. If that
Hmm.
makes sense, it's the balance, it's that bit in between challenge and apathy that causes the drive to do it. So
Hmm.
it's that flow state science and management, which I love to teach and help
That's really
people with as
cool.
well. So the functional creativity is is a really basic example. You know how to make a cup of tea, I
Yeah.
hope. Um, and so most people learn to do that, especially in England,
Hmm.
from a certain age, and so that is if you gave a 2 year if you told a 2 year old to make a cup of tea, would they wouldn't necessarily make themselves wrong. They just not even bother or know not how to do it or so that's a good example of like what anything we want to work on. How big is it? How complicated is it? How can we find what to learn to make it easy or have someone teach us, or do we actually need to do it at all?
Hmm.
And so functional creativity comes into finding your own passion and making it work and developing something and having a state, but it's short-lived.
Yeah.
It's like and these like I say, you can be in a disruptive pattern, you can have an addiction to something and get into flow.
Yeah. It's like how the intermix kind of intermix. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the final
Yeah.
one is visionary creativity, which is I have a vision, but it's not just about like self-centered.
Hmm.
It's like self-centered enough to know that it's part of a bigger plan to inspire others. And
Yeah.
so that's where vision comes into mind. And again, we talk about manifestation and stuff like that. So, Leonardo da Vinci ha looking at cadavers when the current um, you know mode of thought was that was a spiritually immoral thing to do,
Hmm.
and so he went against the system and did that anyway and provided information and through art, and that's where visionary artists end up providing new perspectives and going against things that aren't necessarily working in the world.
Hmm.
And so doesn't have to be now an anarchic or whatever you want to call it, but that vision can actually drive new things, and that's where neurocreative leadership comes into mind, is to to lead the life well, not necessarily stand up on stage and inspire the world, although I see holistic health as important to do apply that and help people with their health because it's so apparent. So that's my mission is more to do with neurodiverse, creative, heart-centered, um, visionary, creative projects, buildings to
Mm.
help those that want to um, get out of that procrastination, perfectionisms, and all the
Yeah.
addictive patterns, and actually get into putting these projects out there and finding the support, having the community, all of that. So that's what the vision. That's where the vision comes in. As soon as I say it,
Mm.
it makes sense, right?
Oh yeah,
But it
totally.
could also be just a neurodivergent mother who is not doing the art that she used to love. When she could just do a little bit here and there and then learn how to lead her life well so that she shows up for her children in the way that she would want them to show up for others.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be, hey, look at me on stage kind of leadership. So I'm talking about just responsibility for what you want to create and doing projects for your own for our own mental health and or for a business and or for um uh somewhere anywhere in between, like a
Yeah.
side project or whatever.
That's great. Well, as we come towards the end of this week's episode, it's been absolutely brilliant, and like I love like all of these insights that you're coming up with. I just I can resonate in some form or another. It's like it does. Success is different for everybody, isn't it? At the end of the day, and it's finding that and celebrating what you feel you can celebrate of yourself, whether it be really small, and obviously that would then manifest into bigger things. But last little bit to you today, any words of encouragement or words of wisdom that you'd like to leave off with?
Oh, that's just we're gonna open up the book.
Have a book for it.
There we go, that was perfect. Without consulting a well-informed rational mind, our intuition will devoutly follow blind urges. So that's where our blind urges, if we're not aware of them, they will create addictive processes of the negative kind in some ways, unless you well informed your rational mind to stay conscious and choose what you want instead. And without a well-trained intuition, our rational mind will devoutly follow blind navigation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like listening to the intuition to make sure that the intuition and the head consciousness are actually in alignment with what's going on, so that we can follow our intuition without knowing how it's going to go, so that we can navigate our way from our heart-centered neurodiverse creatives.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Amy. It's been brilliant. Thank you for the brilliant questions.